As you may or may not know, April was a month of lots of new releases. And not only new releases, but highly anticipated ones. So I decided to read basically all of them and combine them all into one video. So that's what this is. Keep watching to hear all my thoughts and see some of my reactions, and don't worry, it's spoiler free. Enjoy! I have been sat waiting and waiting and waiting for this book, and it's finally out. Oh yeah, by the way, spoiler free. You guys already know how that goes. I want to read with you guys, but I'm not gonna like spoil anything major. So the first book is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. Oh my god, I've read 3 books by Abby Jimenez. I love her so much. Her and Emily Henry are just, they are so auto-buy authors. I am obsessed with anything they ever put out. It's fantastic. It's great. I haven't even read all of Abby's books, but the 3 that I have read, I loved them so much. So let's get into this book. First off, the cover is probably one of the prettiest book covers I've seen. Like, it is so smart to me. I don't get why more authors don't make their covers stunning, because they are gonna immediately get more posts and attention from people, because this book is so pretty. I don't want to stop posting pictures of it. I just like, I want to always be taking pictures of it and posting them because it's gorgeous. Just look at that. The colors. This is so summer. You can't tell me this is fall. Like, oh, this is a fall book. Yeah. This book is about Emma and Justin. Basically, Justin makes this post on Reddit, and he's talking about how he feels like he's cursed because every woman he dates, as soon as they break up with him or whenever he ends up ending the relationship with them, they end up finding their happily ever after and getting married to the very next person that they date. And he says that's happened about like 5 or so times. And so he posts this on Reddit. It starts going viral. And then Emma, who is a nurse, by the way, oh yeah, and Justin's like a software engineer, I think. Emma's best friend sees this post on Reddit and she's like, yo, Emma, someone else got the same problem you do, girl. Y'all should bond over that one. So Emma ends up reading the Reddit post and she's like, this is kind of crazy. Like, why are we the same? Why are we both cursed in this way? So Emma reaches out to Justin and she's like, hey, yo, LOL, like, we both got the same problem going on. Later on, Justin is talking to his friends about it. He's like, yeah, I've gotten a lot of requests from people like jokingly, but low-key not jokingly, wanting me to date them so they can find their happily ever after. And then he's like, I did find one cool girl though. Her name is Emma. So he tells his friends about her because Emma and Justin like talked for a little bit. Justin's friend Brad is like, what if y'all meet and y'all choose to date? Because it'll cancel out, since everyone she ends up dating ends up finding their happily ever after, and everyone you end up dating finds their happily ever after. If you guys both date, it should cancel out and y'all should both find your happily ever afters. It doesn't hurt to try. It's all fun and games, but like low-key. So yeah, that's like the premise of the book. But I'm kind of giving my first update now, since I did read a little bit of this earlier. I've actually read 48 pages. Justin and Emma have been talking a little bit more, and the banter, I say this every time with Abby Jimenez, she has such good natural flow banter that makes me get giddy. Like, I read these conversations that are happening between Emma and Justin, and it is just so like, it gets me giddy, it gets me excited, it gets me happy, and I love the feeling I have while reading the conversations between the two of them. It's funny, it's good humor, it's quick pace, it's not quite flirty yet, but like there's that flirty undertone with it. It is so good. Both Emily Henry and Abby Jimenez have mastered the art of banter. They have the science down. Also, Allie Hazelwood does really good with it as well. But yeah, that is my little update. At the part where Emma and Justin have finally, like, they agreed that once they get together, after Emma's gonna go to Hawaii with her friend for a little bit, because her and her friend travel around a lot and they kind of live out of their suitcases. Since Justin lives in Michigan, him and Emma were like, okay, when you get back to the mainland, we will do our dating thing. And they came up with a formula. They're gonna do 1 date a week. It's gonna be at least 3 hours, and they like set down basic rules that kind of applied with how they have dated people in the past, because they're trying to take this seriously. It's like a joke, but they're trying to be like, I want to find my happily ever after. This could work out. So they came up with a plan, and that's the part of the book that I'm at right now. Another thing about Abby Jimenez books, they're fun romances, but there's always like more to them, and there's more problems and character traits and emotional things that take place. So we will get into that later. I'm so excited to read these new releases with you guys. Hey guys, time for a little update. I am on page 158. Still going really well. It is such an easy read. I paused to look at the page number I'm on, and I'm surprised because it doesn't feel like I've read that much, or I've read so much in a small amount of time. That's what Abby's writing does. Like, you just escape into it so easily. Both Emma and Justin have mommy issues, I guess you could say. Emma, growing up, her mom just like wasn't there because her mom had her at like 18 years old and she was all alone. She had to raise a kid on her own and she just didn't handle that well. She kind of would disappear from Emma's life, and Emma really had to like grow up on her own. She's put in the foster care system and stuff like that, and so her mom has this thing where she will like hop into Emma's life and like be there or be super happy because she's with a guy and things are going great, and then she just ups and leaves, drops the guy, leaves Emma. Emma's like scared because she doesn't know where her mother is or has no contact with her. Basically, she has a toxic mom. Justin, his mom, these aren't really spoilers, like you learn about these things in the book pretty early on, and then we get to like read about how they're dealing with these problems. Justin has 3 younger siblings, but their dad died a while ago, and so the mom had to raise all of them. His mom is actually about to go to jail because she stole a bunch of money from a non-profit organization that she used to work with, and so Justin in about a week is about to get full custody of his siblings. So that is his mommy problem. She's about to go to prison. So yeah, those are like the 2 main problems. But Emma has such like a beautiful mindset when it comes to how she treats her mom. Obviously she hates sometimes not even knowing where her mom is or what her mom's doing or if her mom's even alive, and then she'll pop up in Emma's life and be like, hey daughter. So this is a little part that Emma said to Justin. She's trying to like give him a comparison of how she's able to still show grace to her mom. Emma says, you have a lot of ice in Michigan, right? Justin says, yes. What happens when water gets into a crack and it freezes? It expands, I said, makes a crack bigger. And then Emma says, unhealed trauma is like a crack, and all the little hard things that trickle into it that would have rolled off someone else settle. Then when life gets cold, that crack gets bigger, longer, deeper. It makes new breaks. You don't know how broken she was or what she was trying to do to fill those cracks. Being broken is not an excuse for bad behavior. You still have to make good choices to do the right thing, but it can be the reason, and sometimes understanding the reason can be what helps you heal. And then a little bit later she says, you can still love someone that you've decided not to speak to anymore. You can still wish them well and hope for the best for them. Choosing a life without them doesn't mean you stop caring about them. It just means that you can't allow them to harm you anymore. But if you don't think your life would be better without them in it, then accept that they have cracks. Try to understand how they got them and help fill them with something that isn't ice. She says this part, which she's already said to Justin earlier in the book, and I think it's kind of going to be like a main theme, but I love this quote. And she says, if you can choose anger or empathy, always choose empathy, Justin. It's so much healthier than anger for both of you. So basically Emma is speaking straight fact. But yeah, that's how much I've read right here, and I'm really loving it. I'm feeling exactly how I would expect to feel at this point in an Abby Jimenez book. believe it or not, I drove around and I have parked in this parking lot 3 times, and this is the best I came up with. I finished Just for the Summer the other day, and I knew I was gonna like it. I was going into this with high expectations, and my expectations were met. Out of all of the books I've read by Abby Jimenez, this one would come right under Yours Truly, I believe. We could put that up for the test since I read Yours Truly over a year ago, and I rated it 5 stars back then when I read it, but I could reread it now and we could like really try to see which one is up there. But I ended up rating this 4.75 stars. I know that is so annoying for you guys. Here's the thing. This book was so good, and it honestly, when I think about it, it was perfect. There's really nothing that I would change about it. I loved this story so much. The only thing is it didn't give me that full 5-star feeling, and I cannot rate a book 5 stars. Like, I cannot and I will not rate a book 5 stars if I don't get that 5-star feeling. Not happening. And I'm obviously not going to rate it 4.99 stars because that's freaking annoying. That's more annoying than 4.75. But 4.75 is literally the highest rating I will go when I'm rating a book. That's not 5 stars. First off, I've mentioned this before, it is a great romance, but there's so much more to this. Obviously, Justin's mom is in prison, and he has to basically become a dad for his siblings, so he's taking on that role. You get to watch the way he handles it throughout the whole book and everything. Emma has the most toxic mom ever. I would highly recommend this book. There are so many cute moments also because as they're obviously like fake dating, Justin would make these little survey things that he would email or text to Emma, and it was so cute. Like I loved that so much. I loved Justin. He was just so perfect. So perfect. Something I really liked about Emma, and I kind of realized this while reading, some of the things she would say to Justin and just the way Emma herself, her thought process and the way she would handle things was very emotionally mature, I guess you could say. Obviously, there were moments where she didn't like make the best decisions. For the most part, her process and the way she would choose to do things, it was like she was thinking it through in a good way, which I feel like we don't always get. Like sometimes the main characters will make such dumb mistakes and you're like, did you even think it through? This one, I feel like Emma really thought through. For the most part, she thought through things and was really trying to do the right thing or trying to do emotionally correct thing that she could do. And maybe don't start your day finishing this book, because that's what I did, and I was in tears because the way this ended was so good. The last few chapters really tugged at my heartstrings. Like, I was crying. Last thing, the epilogue in this book. I'm not a fan of epilogues. It usually annoys me when I get to the end of a book and I see the epilogue and then I'm flipping through it and there are multiple pages and it says like 10 years later or 5 years later. Sometimes that's called for in books, the 5 years, 10 years things, but most of the time it's not, and it's so annoying. Like, I like the way the book ended. Why are we doing all this? This epilogue, not even 2 full pages, and it was done perfectly. It even pulled out the perfect emotions, because you had little moments where you're like, aww, aww, and laughing, all within a page and a half. If you're gonna do an epilogue, take notes. 4.75 stars for Just for the Summer. I love this book. I'm gonna go through it and look at some quotes and stuff because it was really, really good. Really great way to start off this video. Abby Jimenez has done it again. Alright, the next book for this video is another very, very highly anticipated read for me. This one has recently become an anticipated read because, as you guys know, I started reading the Chestnut Springs series and I've only read Flawless and Heartless, but I am hooked. I am hooked into anything that Elsie Silver writes and releases. She is now an auto-buy author for me, and I have read 2 books. I will read whatever she puts out. So, as you know, I have not finished the Chestnut Springs series. I will. Trust me. I will. Yesterday, Elsie released her first book in the Rose Hill series, and that is Wild Love. First off, the cover. We are 2 for 2 in covers in this video. Look at that. Look at how cute that is. So this is about Ford and Rosie. Ford is a billionaire and all he really wants to do is like escape the press and open a recording studio in his cute little small town. And then he learns that he actually has a daughter that he didn't know about. I think she's like 12 years old. Apparently he's her biological father and he's like, oh wow. So so okay. And then Ford's best friend, West, has a sister and her name is Rosie. See where this is going? Best friend's younger sister. So yeah, it's brother's best friend trope if you're coming from Rosie's POV. But one thing, I've read 20 pages of this so far. I started it this morning at the gym. But one thing I realized is that Ford's sister is Willa from Heartless, which is the last Elsie Silver book I just read. So Willa is Ford's sister. So yeah, super excited for this one. Elsie Silver, so far for me, it's a hit and a hit. I have loved the 2 books of hers that I've read. Really excited for this one because I really like this trope. I don't think I've read many books with this trope, but it's giving something I would like. And so I'm really excited for this and I can't wait. I know we're gonna get a cameo probably of Willa and Cade. Let's start reading. Okay, don't be mad at me. I'm back in the car. Also, the tree in front of me is creating this effect for me and how much other stuff I have to do. I have read a good chunk of this book in a very short amount of time and I need to give you guys updates because there is a lot to talk about. First off, in the beginning when I was like telling you what this book is about, I forgot to mention Rosie's situation. I really told you a bunch about Ford but nothing about Rosie. Basically, Rosie gets fired from her job in the city and so she's moved back to Rose Hill. Yeah, she got fired so she wants to come back to her roots with her brother and her brother's best friend, figure out her life a little bit. Next thing I wanted to talk about is Cora, who is Ford's daughter. I think Cora may be one of my favorite kids I've ever read about in a book. Like, I genuinely am enjoying the scenes she's in. I love seeing the relationship between her grow with Ford, like separately between Ford and Rosie, and then also when they're together, when Ford, Rosie, and Cora are together, the vibes are so good. And Cora's humor, love it. I am obsessed with her humor. The way she acts, she has some solid one-liners. And literally I'm reading and I'm like, I know she did not. She just went off with that. And she's literally like 12 years old. But I have never been so obsessed with a child in a book. Like, I actually look forward to the scenes that she's in. Another thing I wanted to mention is Ford always does this thing with Rosie where he yanks on her ponytail because, like, as you know, they've always had this relationship where it's kind of like it's a very light sense of the enemies part, but they would always tease each other and stuff, and that's something they've always done. And so Ford always grabs her ponytail and yanks it. So there's this one scene when they're both out on the pier and Cora goes, "Are you still single?" And he says, "Yes." "Are you?" And she says, "I don't know." Because she has this boyfriend in the city, kind of. They're kind of like, it's a very vague situation. And then he yanks on her ponytail to pull her gaze up to his. And he goes, "Next time you ask me that, make sure you are. Like, make sure you are single." Imagine a guy pulling your... Oh... Imagine a guy just yanking and going, "Oh my god!" I squealed when I read that. I was like, oh my god! Also, another thing I'm loving in this book is obviously Ford has like hired Cora to work with him. And so they're emailing back and forth. The emails, priceless. I don't even like checking my emails, but if Ford Grant was my boss, oh my god, I would look forward to it every single day. I would actually live to check my emails. I would continue to survive for the chance of opening an email from Ford Grant, just to put it lightly, you know? I'm loving this book because we have so many different, like, I don't even know how to put this into words. I'm gonna sound really unintelligent here, but we have so many different pieces of ways to read stuff. Like, we have the book itself, and then we have the emails, and then we also have journal entries from Rosie. We are getting moments where Rosie will say something to Ford, and then in like a few chapters, we get to read some of her journal entries from in the past, and she said the same thing to him, or he said that line to her and now she's saying it to him in the present. And it's so good because throughout the book, Rosie will like let Ford get a glimpse at one of her journal entries. Oh my god, it is so good. You know how Ford has hired Rosie, right? For her first paycheck, $100,000. Because why for a split second did I forget he was a billionaire? And then it switches to Ford's dialect and he's like, upon first notice, I didn't realize that that's a lot of money. It really isn't that much, but apparently it is. So we're just gonna vibe with it. Hire me, please. I'm loving it so much. So much. The writing, smooth, easy to read. The tension between Rosie and Ford, perfection. Cora? Her relationship between Ford, Rosie, all three of them, perfect. I am obsessed. I need to stop talking, but this book is good. I finished Wild Love like 2 days ago and I wanted to give you my review on this. I'm not going to talk too much about it because you already know I loved it. I enjoyed it. You can already tell. I ended up rating this 4.5 stars. So good. I love the tension and everything between Ford and Rosie and also Cora. The fact that Elsie made me not only like a child in a book but actually genuinely look forward to scenes where she is included. That is a miracle on its own. Like, we know Elsie Silver is a miracle writer. That's another level. Children in books just, they don't usually do it for me. You know, when we get to the point in a book where there would be a third act breakup, how that portion of this book was done was so much better than third act breakup vibes. Oh, I forgot. I didn't mention this. I actually filmed a TikTok about this if you really want to see. But at the end of this book, we get introduced to a character by the name of Reese. If the MMC's name is Reese, I'm in for a wild one. And I need his book. I think I'm gonna like his book the most just by like the few sentences we got about that man. I loved it. I recommend it. Such a fun time. I love Elsie Silver, period. Next book for this video, we're going to switch genres a little bit because we have done 2 romances. Actually, I don't know if I've ever read 2 romances rated that highly back to back. 4.75 and 4.5. Is this like a historic moment for me in my reading journey? But the next book for this video is The Reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson. If that name is somehow new to you, Holly Jackson is the author of the Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy, which I still catch myself thinking about the ending of that trilogy, and I read it last year. It's a young adult mystery thriller type of thing. If you haven't read it, please go read it. Like, you need to. That's your homework. Go do that, and then you can come back to the video. Actually, finish watching the video, and then you can go do that. But yeah, this is her recent release. I haven't read any of her other books since I read that trilogy, so I'm really excited to read something by her again. This is about Belle. I believe she's 18 years old, and she has lived her whole life in the shadow of her mother, Rachel Price. Basically, when Belle was very young, her mom disappeared and nobody knows where she went. It's like such a big mystery because of the way she disappeared. It's so odd. Her mom disappeared and left Belle in a car on the road, and Belle was found. So in present day, there is a film crew that wants to do kind of like a documentary on Belle and her family and her mom and the disappearance and everything. So that's going on, and then Rachel Price reappears. Yeah, her mother who we thought, like, the one who disappeared, she reappears while they're filming this documentary. Belle is kind of suspicious because she doesn't know if her mom is lying about where she's been all this time. I don't know, this sounds like such an interesting synopsis, I guess. If it's Holly Jackson writing it, the chances of it being an extremely good book are so high. Every time I read a hardcover book, I will take off the dust jacket. Look at how cool the cover of this book is when you take this off. Look at that. That might be the coolest, like, actual reveal of a book when I take off the dust jacket that I've ever seen, because that is so pretty and so neat and creative. I literally started reading this yesterday, but the way I was so hooked within the first chapter, I did not want to put the book down. This is like a long book. It is over 400 pages and it's like a mystery thriller. Those are usually shorter. Not this one, but I can't even complain because I'm so roped in already. Really excited to see where this goes and what adventure Miss Holly Jackson is going to take us on. I'm going to try to be really vague with this book and the updates, so you might not get as many updates with this book, because I feel like going into mysteries and thrillers, it's better when you just don't know as much about what's going on. So I will update you guys on my thoughts and stuff, but I won't give away too much of the plot because I feel like that could ruin the experience. I'm so excited for this book. Also, is this gonna be literally the best reading vlog I've ever made? Because why are all these new releases so far hitting? This might be another one. Hey guys, so this is the first and probably only update you're gonna get of this book. I currently have 100 pages left and I feel like I'm at the point where things are gonna start to go crazy, like insane. That's what Holly Jackson does. But so far throughout the book, I have, from page 1 throughout the whole thing, I've had this like feeling. And you know, when you read like thrillers and mysteries, you always feel uneasy. I have literally felt like that the whole time, non-stop. Like, it feels like there's something I should know, or obviously like something's gonna happen, but I have just had that feeling throughout the whole book, and I love that. I love that when I'm reading a mystery thriller, because that's the whole point of it. One thing about Holly Jackson's books is she really does a good job of like wrapping everything up. So I'm trying to like seep in every little detail and every little ounce of information I get, because I know I'm gonna get to the end and I'm gonna be like, I didn't even remember that. I didn't even remember that happened, didn't think it would be important, and then it is, and it plays like a big role in the story or something. But I've been enjoying it so far. I've been listening to the audiobook version as well, and this book has just really consumed my thoughts a lot recently. Like, I'm reading it pretty quickly. I haven't had a lot of time to read it, so it is taking me a few days. Even though it's like 450 pages or so, it's a quick read. I'm enjoying it so far, and I'm really excited to see how this is going to end up. I have some theories, but I'm not great at guessing how thrillers and mysteries end, but very much enjoying this one. I finished reading The Reappearance of Rachel Price, and I ended up giving it 4.25 stars. Now, when it comes to thriller books and like mystery and thrillers, please don't take my ratings too seriously, because I don't read too many of them, and I get easily thrilled and easily excited and am easily satisfied, I would say, when it comes to like mystery and thrillers. But obviously if I read a lot more of them, I'd probably be more picky with my rating. But I really love this book, and especially considering the fact that it is 430 something pages, which is pretty long for a mystery thriller. Yeah, that's long for a romance book, and mystery thriller books are almost always like on the shorter end compared to romance books. I never got bored. From the beginning, I had like this feeling in my chest, not anxiety, not anxiousness, well, I don't know, but the whole time throughout the whole book, I was on edge, and I always felt like, what is going on? Something's gonna click, something's gonna happen. So yeah, I felt like that throughout the whole book until things started clicking and started happening. I'm not really gonna say much about the plot, obviously. If you guys are reading this book, you should go into it pretty blindly. It's a lot more fun that way. But the ending of this wasn't as crazy to me as I had built it up to be in my head. Like, the ending of this makes more sense, but in my head I was building it up to be really elaborate, and I think that's kind of my fault, which made the ending of this, I was like, oh, I thought it would be more on this end of what I had going on in my head, but it was still a really good ending. I still really enjoyed my time reading this book. Would highly recommend. Honestly, anything Holly Jackson writes is a safe bet in my opinion. 4.25 stars for The Reappearance of Rachel Price. Next book in this new release video, I actually got on its release day, but I'm obviously reading it maybe like a week. I think I'm like a week and a half past when it was actually released, but still it was released in the month of April, and that is The Rule Book by Sarah Adams. I read When in Rome and Practice Makes Perfect this time last year, I think, and I loved those books. Sarah Adams does a great job with small town romance and just easy and fun to read books. It's a fun time. You enjoy the experience. I've not read the cheat sheet, which I believe is like the companion novel for this book, and it's before this one, but you don't have to read that before reading this book, obviously. Yeah, this is a sporty second chance romance about college exes Nora and Derek. Yeah, Nora and Derek. Nora finally gets a job to be like an official full-time sports agent, and so her first client ends up being Derek, who is like an all-time NFL tight end like Travis Kelce. Nora was the girl back in college who broke Derek's heart, and so when he ends up figuring out that she's now his agent, he's like, oh, I'm gonna make it hell for her. Like, I am going to play that card. I'm gonna be that guy in this little relationship thing we have going on because she literally broke my heart. Nora's like, okay, I'm not gonna let him just easily get away with this. Nora comes up with the plan on her own, but then it says a wild night in Vegas leads to Nora and Derek being married. That's basically what the synopsis says, so this sounds like it's gonna be a fun one. What I like about Sarah Adams books is sometimes the situation is a little out there, like, and it just makes the story fun. So this sounds like a really fun romance book, and I'm really excited for it. It's about 330 pages or so. Yeah, that is our next read for this video. Yesterday, I finished reading the rule book. I was actually reading outside, and it was just like the perfect, you know when you're in the perfect location to finish a book, and you finish a book and it's just, that's what yesterday was for me. I don't know if I gave any updates while reading this book. I read it pretty quickly and just like forgot to film the update part, but it was an enjoyable read. However, When in Rome and Practice Makes Perfect, the other two books I've read by Sarah Adams, those are so much better than this one, in my opinion. I just love those. Maybe it's the world, maybe it's the atmosphere, I don't know, but I loved those a lot more than this. One thing I really liked about this were the moments where Derek was with his teammates and they were involved, because any of those little scenes, they give me icebreaker vibes, like from the Maple Hills series. I love that series so much. So in any other sports romance books, those scenes where all the teammates are in literally are my favorite scenes every single time. But I did really enjoy my time reading this. I just don't have too much to say about it. Like, I was rooting for the characters in this book. The reason that Nora split up with Derek, that's not a spoiler or anything, to me it just was kind of of dumb. The way Nora would like think about things sometimes and be like, oh, I wish I was with Derek. I'd be like, why did you break up with him in the first place? That irritated me a little bit, but it's not really a big deal. Yeah, I would still recommend this book if you want a quick, fun romance read. Sarah Adams books are awesome for that. I ended up rating this 3.25 stars. I originally put 3.5, but I think I'm gonna move it down to 3.25. Not really that I have too many complaints. It's just like, it's okay. It's okay. It's not a bad book, but there were some slower moments in here and I enjoyed it, but I will probably forget the characters and forget all about it within the next month or so. But had a fun time reading it. Still recommend. 3.25 stars for the rule book. This book I'm about to talk about is probably one of the main reasons you even clicked on this video. Bonnie's Story by Emily Henry. I still am in awe that I have this in my hands because the second she announced this, I have been counting down the days. I'm sure all of you guys have because she is one of my favorite authors. I love anything that woman puts out. So let me tell you a little bit about this. Daphne's ex-fiance, Peter, he ends up realizing that he is in fact in love with his best friend, Petra. This is basically like a week before their wedding. So Peter leaves Daphne a week before their wedding and he goes off with Petra and he literally gives Daphne a week to move out and get out of the house. So what Daphne does is she reaches out to Miles, who is Petra's ex, and they end up living together because they're like, this is the worst situation. So Daphne and Miles are living together. Daphne is very like organized, type A, structured, doesn't really share much about herself with others, and Miles is very like nonchalant, kind of go with the flow. They have a night where they're just like drinking a little bit and they are like, you know what, let's RSVP to our ex's wedding. Actually, we can take it a step further. Let's act like we're together. That's basically the premise of this book. I have actually already read 99 pages exactly, and my thoughts so far, I'm loving it. I'm trying to savor it, so even though I'm not reading this fast, it is for very good reasons because who knows how long it's going to be before she releases another book, and I don't want to just like gulp this one down. I want it to marinate. I'm reading it slowly. I'm taking my time. I'm enjoying it. But one thing I'm really liking is that Daphne is a librarian, so we get so many scenes of her working in the library, being around books, doing some book shopping, and I'm just over here like, I get to read about a girl who works in a bookstore and she's gonna fall in love. I love that. The more I read about Daphne, not only the book thing, because there are multiple points in this book where everyone who reads books is gonna be like, Daphne, literally she's me because of the book related stuff, but her personality, it is so me. I'm seeing a lot of myself within her and it's scaring me a little bit because I'm gonna relate a little too hard to this book, which means I'm going to end up crying because I cry in almost every Emily Henry book. I don't know how she does it, but there's this one page, and I'm just gonna read a little bit of the dialect. Miles is asking Daphne, he goes, where do you go when you're not at home? Because he's trying to learn more about her. She's just a very closed book and doesn't really share much about herself with other people. And so he says, where do you go when you're not at home? And she says, like, other than work? Other than work. Nowhere, I say. I'm boring. You're not boring, he says. You're keeping secrets. Honestly, I say, if I'm not at home or work, I'm usually just reading somewhere else. The beach, the public beach, or the Lone Horse Cafe, blah, 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 blah. And if I'm not reading, I'm probably working. And then she says, you're thinking that all sounds pretty boring, aren't you, I say. He laughs. No. And then Daphne makes a face and he goes, okay, a little bit, but just because that sounds boring to me doesn't mean I think you're boring. And I know that's like really like such a small thing, but I literally bracketed that. One reason it's harder for me to open up to people is because I feel like I'm such a boring person. I feel like I just don't have much to open up about, so I don't want to open up at all. Does that make any sense? Like, I don't want to share a lot of details about me because there's not too much to share. So if I share a few of them, you already know so much about me because I don't do anything exciting, and I feel like I'm not an exciting person. I'm a little worried how much I'm going to connect to her in this story, but if Emily Henry wrote it, I will happily cry and happily have a breakdown. I think it might not really be a bad idea if Emily Henry includes more smut scenes. Not really smut, but like scenes like that one. She kind of nailed it. Can we get more of that? It's time for another funny story update, and I almost have been procrastinating updating you guys on this book because there are so many good parts in it that I want to talk about, but this would be a funny story reading vlog if I did that, and I can't do all that. But I think when Emily Henry wrote this book, she like had a dictionary of the most beautifully combined words, like word combinations, sitting right next to her because she is doing it with the writing in this book. When I tell you almost every page or every other page I am annotating or underlining, I'm not even kidding. I literally have to stop myself and just like inhale and exhale because of how pretty the writing is. It's so good. I think this could be some of her best writing. It's just so high up there, and I don't know how she does it over and over, even in the most mundane things. She has found ways to perfectly describe very specific feelings and put it into words. It's the type of feelings I'd be like, there's no way someone could describe how that feels. She literally has done it, and I'm gonna share a few examples with you, not spoilers, but this woman in her writing has to be studied because it's actually insane what she's doing here. Also, I feel like this is like a universal thing I've seen with a lot of people reading funny story. We start off getting introduced to Miles and everyone's kind of like, no, I don't think he's gonna be the one. But as the book goes on, he's literally such a good person. Everybody likes him, and he has this thing about him where, oh, I'm literally gonna find where Daphne is like describing to Miles what he's like. This is the perfect character description of him. You're probably the only person I've ever met who's genuinely curious about everyone he meets and makes them feel interesting and welcome and like they should be confident in what they do. You make them feel like growing corn or making cherry salsa or recommending books is a superpower. And then later on she says, I just think you like people almost as much as they like you, and it makes being around you feel like standing in sunlight. And that is literally Miles, guys. So the way the book starts out, you're like, ew, what? This is our MMC? This is our MMC. He's just so likable. He's paying attention to little details that Daphne gives him. Like, she just mentioned in conversation once that she likes chai, and then the next day he brought her chai and she's like, oh, you didn't have to do that. He's like, is this not, don't you like chai? And she's like, well, yeah, I do, but like I never specifically told you that. He just heard her say it. And so when he was at the coffee shop, he got her chai. Also, I mentioned how much I relate to Daphne, and as the story goes on, it's just proving that point. I've always cleaved to the people I love, tried to orient my orbit around them. Maybe I realize I've been trying to make myself unleavable, but it hasn't worked. And then she says, I don't want to just be a part of we. I want to be an I. And Miles goes, you're already an I. It's just about how much you embrace it. One of her struggles is that she identified a lot of things that she thought she liked or thought she enjoyed doing with Peter, her ex. They were a we, is what she's talking about in this, and all of his friends were her friends. All of the stuff he had was hers. Everything he liked to do, she had to like doing. And so she was very much a part of we, and she didn't feel as much of an I, like herself. So yeah, I really like that part. Okay, last thing for this update. These are little examples of Emily's beautiful writing, describing very specific emotions or feelings and really just delivering it to you with plain old boring English. The moment feels like a held breath or a soap bubble, something that can't last, that has to break one way or another. Yeah. And then later on it says, I'll get them, he volunteers, and breaks away through the tightly packed crowd, casting one last glance over his shoulder, a hazy look that makes me feel like a Christmas present he's one sleep from unwrapping. Scenes between Miles and Daphne when it's like, those scenes, really good. She's doing them so good. I think this book would be one that has the most like smutty scenes in it out of all of Emily Henry's books. They kiss in front of their exes and it is perfect. It was executed so well. Until the, well, yeah. It's a really good book and it just keeps getting better and better. Yeah, that's it. Yesterday, I finished reading Funny Story. This book, of all of the books in this video, I took the longest to read. It was because I really wanted to savor this experience and enjoy and bask in the work that is Emily Henry's writing. It took me a while to read this book, but that was by choice. I have not rated it yet, and it might take me over a week before I finally decide on what I want to rate this book. It's not a 5-star read for me, which is a little disappointing because I really wanted it to be a 5-star read, and Emily Henry books have a very high chance of being rated 5 stars for me, but it just didn't hit the same as Beach Read and Happy Place. Those two are my top all-time favorite of not just Emily Henry, but of all the books I've read in general. They reside up here. I can't even fully put into words why this wouldn't be a 5-star. I think it was because I couldn't emotionally connect with Miles as much as the MMCs in Happy Place and Beach Read, especially Beach Read, but I connected heavily with Daphne. Of all of Emily Henry's FMCs, Daphne is the one I probably connect with the most. The connection with Miles, I just didn't really feel much of that at all. And also there is a situation that happens at the end of this book I didn't prefer, and I know it has to do with how the specific person is and how they act in general and their characteristics, but I still didn't like the fact that they did what they did, and it didn't ruin the book for me, but it definitely brought the rating down a little bit, I would say. However, I would say that Emily Henry's writing in this book, probably some of her best writing in general out of all of her books. Just the beauty of it and the way she describes things. I was underlining so much in this book. This may be one of my most annotated books. Now, by annotations, I just mean underlines, because that's all I really do. When I tell you, it looked like I was studying a textbook. It looks like I was taking notes in the margins. I really loved Emily's writing, and the really good quotes, beautiful writing, amazing imagery. Emily did an awesome job, and her writing just gets better and better. Like throughout the books, because I've read all of hers, it gets better and better. It really does. And this one, you can definitely tell. So yeah, I really enjoyed this book. However, didn't get that 5-star feeling. Still a very good book, and I would 100% recommend any of Emily Henry's romance books. I have loved. I don't have a rating for it yet. If I have one by the time I finish editing this video, I will include it at the end. At the end of this video, I'm going to put all my current final ratings for all of these books, because some of the ratings I mentioned earlier in this video have already changed. But yeah, such a good book. I need her next one. Guys, we literally have probably another year. And that's why I tried to read it slow, because now we have like another year before another Emily Henry book. Yay. Like, what do I do until then? Next new release I'm reading in this video came out yesterday, and you best believe I sprinted to pick this one up. I've been anticipating this one like nothing else, and that is King of Sloth by Anna Huang. If you've been subscribed to my channel for a little bit, you know Anna Huang is another one of my auto-buy authors, and she's actually the author I have read the most books from. I've read all of the Twisted series. That was actually, I was looking at my Snap memories, and I think I finished reading the Twisted series this time last year. Oh, that series really did. It changed my life. Yeah, I've read all 4 books in the Twisted series and all 3 of the books that have come out in the Kings of Sin series. This is the 4th one. I don't know what it is about Anna and the way she writes men. Even the books where there are very much controversial things, or you're like, okay, come on. I don't know what formula she uses, but I always love my time reading her books, because it's something, I think it's something about her ratio, the amount of romance with a little bit of spice, like spice in the romance, and then the way she writes smut is probably my favorite. It's not a dark romance where it's an overly amount of smut, but she writes the perfect amount in my opinion. The men and the relationships she writes about in these books, this may be a toxic trait of mine. I want her tropes and I want her men in my life. That is how I want to fall in love. Like, I love reading Beach Read, A Happy Place, and books like that where it's just like, it's cute and it's a lovely romance. But for me personally, a little bit of hate thrown in there. Oh, that's what I want. I want that spice. I want that push and pull. Anna Huang does it perfectly. Also, the way all of her books are intertwined, I love it because we're always seeing all of the characters. Even sometimes in the Kings of Sin series, we will see characters from the Twisted series that come in, and I just, it makes my heart so happy. But yeah, this book is Reverse Grumpy Sunshine, which ever since she put out like a blurb about what this book was going to be about, I was a little disappointed because Reverse Grumpy Sunshine just isn't usually my thing. I want the man to be grumpy. I heard that this was going to be reversed and I was like, so the girl is grumpy? I read the first chapter yesterday. Mind changed immediately. This book is about Xavier Castillo and Sloane Kensington. Sloane is Xavier's publicist. She's technically his family's publicist, but Xavier is like a big problem. He's just the one that's going to end up getting the family name in trouble. Like, he actually doesn't care and he doesn't want to inherit his family empire, so he just doesn't care about the family image, and that's why Sloane is always worried about him because his family is her biggest client, and so she has to keep him in check. Sloane is our grumpy girl. She's very intelligent, put together, very tight, always wearing blazers, suits, very put together, and Xavier is the complete opposite, and he loves getting on her nerves, and it is so funny. Like, I'm already obsessed. Yeah, I've read about 50 pages and we start off with Sloane making this bet with Xavier because he wasn't going to go to a gala that he needed to go to for the family image, and so she made a bet with him and he's like, you need a vacation, you need to calm down, you're so tight-knit, like literally you need to relax. And she's like, are you kidding me? And so they make a deal that if he goes to the gala, Sloane will go on vacation with him for like a week, I think. And so they go to the gala. Now I'm at the part where they're on vacation. They've like spent a day there, but immediately when we get into this, we can tell Xavier has always thought Sloane was attractive, but he's like, her attitude and her personality, I don't like it though. She's so uptight. I just want to get her to loosen up. But he's always playfully flirting with her, and it's so funny. I'm literally about to film a TikTok about this description of Xavier, but if you guys know Nick Wilde from Zootopia, that is exactly how I would describe Xavier, because he is not the annoying sunshine type of character I thought he was gonna be. He has a perfect amount of spice and attitude and flirtatiousness with his sunshine exterior that it is the perfect mix, and it is 100% giving Nick Wilde from Zootopia. Like, he has this sly demeanor about him. He knows what he's doing, but he can joke around perfectly. Oh, I'm so excited for this. I was so excited to start reading this book yesterday. I literally skipped this page, but look at this. Oh my god. As if I needed another reason to be excited about this one. My camera cut out, but I'm based off of the way it has already started. This has the potential to be one of my favorite Anna Huang books. It could actually come true. Please ignore this towel. My hair is drying and I don't want it to get all over my shirt. So this is a situation we're working with, and we're actually not gonna say a word about it. So yesterday I finished King of Sloth, and I think I'm gonna end up rating it 4.25 stars. I really enjoyed this one, and I'm just now realizing how long it is. It's literally like 430 pages. I really liked this one, especially considering going into it, it was a trope that I just didn't think I was gonna really enjoy, but Anna Huang made me enjoy it. I really liked Xavier, especially at the beginning of the book. I would say I enjoyed, like, the first half of the book was really my favorite. I feel like that's when I got more of Xavier. Oh my goodness, I just realized I keep saying Xavier. His name is pronounced Javier. I've been saying it wrong this whole time. But I really liked Javier's personality at the beginning. It was just so fun and flirty, all of that in the beginning. And I had so much fun reading about that, especially with Sloan. But yeah, all in all, I really enjoyed reading this book. I feel like I liked the plot. However, I do think I preferred the plot of King of Wrath and King of Pride. I liked those a little bit more. I can't even remember them specifically, but I just remember being a little more excited about the plot in both of those books. This one was still good. I've mentioned this already. Anything Anna Huang releases, I'm probably gonna enjoy. She just kind of knows how to write a book that is the style that I like. I'm a little upset that I don't have a picture like that of the other couples in this series. I wish I had that in the other books because I love being able to picture characters. I love being able to picture characters while reading. That's like the first thing I will do as soon as I start reading a book. I have to have like a visual in my head of the characters. That would have helped me so much with the other characters in this series, but it's whatever. Alright guys, this has been quite a journey, but we have come to the final book for this video. Powerful by Lauren Roberts, her new novella that just released not even a week ago from when I'm filming this. This one's so cute. It's literally like a mini-sized book. I think it's adorable. This is Adina's story. If you have read Powerless, Adina is Peyton's best friend. Peyton is the main character in Powerless. If you have not read Powerless, pick up the book right now, pick it up, and go read it because that is still my favorite book that I've read this year. I genuinely think about Kai and Peyton every single day. Kai, Peyton, and Rhysand are people that I, like, you think I'm kidding, but I think about them every day. And I read that book in January. It is still my favorite book that I've read this year. But yeah, this is a little novella. I think Reckless, which is the second, like, book in this series, comes out in June or July. And I will die of happiness when that comes out. I don't even know what I'm gonna do. But yeah, this is the last book for this video. I'm so excited to read more work by Lauren Roberts. I've missed her writing so much ever since I read Powerless. I'm super excited to read about Adina's story. This morning I finished Powerful and I am going to insert the clip of me while I was reading the end of this book right here. That honestly sums it up. This is the first novella I've ever read. I've never read a novella before. However, there is no way all novellas are this good. When I tell you within the first 50 pages, I was extremely emotionally attached to both Adina and Mac. Lauren Roberts did an amazing job because obviously we know how this book is going to end and we know the characters that are in it, but still with that information, I really didn't know much about the main characters still, but by the time I was 50 pages in, and these pages are very small, I was so emotionally attached to this book and I was like, how is this happening? I know one thing I hear a lot about novellas is that they feel rushed or they're just not as exciting. This, to me, the pacing, it was quick, but at the same time, I can't complain about it. The only complaint I have is that I wish it was a full novel. I wish this was a full book the length of Powerless. The things that the men say in her books is, I cannot fathom a man in real life ever being as good as this. They just can't compare. Anyways, I'm rambling on way too long for a book this short, but oh my goodness, I ended up rating it 4 stars. If it was a full book, I would rate it 5 stars. I know a lot of people don't even rate novellas. I'm personally still gonna rate novellas when I read them, but obviously take into consideration that it is a novella, so I probably won't ever be giving novellas 5 stars, but this one was really good. Amazing job, Lauren Roberts. That is 2 for 2. Honestly, the perfect way to finish this video. What a video this has been. I've had such a fun time filming, reading, and editing this whole video. It's definitely been an experience, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. I thought it would be fun to just include a bunch of new releases that have come out recently all in one video. So that's why I really didn't upload much last month. Right now, I'm gonna read off all of my current final ratings for all of the books that I read. Most of these are pretty finalized and I really had time to think about it. If you want to follow my Goodreads, it's linked down below. All my socials are, and I'm always switching my Goodreads ratings when I feel like I have come up with something that is truly what I feel is the right rating for specific books. So if you want to follow that, feel free. But starting off, I read Just for the Summer. This is the one that I just can't decide. I have it at 4.75 stars. Multiple times throughout Just for the Summer, I had very close to 5-star feelings of that book. This is the one thing I think that could possibly make me end up rating it 5 stars in the future. Whenever it's a book like that that is so close to 5 stars and I have underlined a bunch of stuff, I will go through it again and I'm just really reading the quotes that I underlined and kind of re-experiencing the emotions I had during that. That's what happened to me with Happy Place by Emily Henry, and that just really finalized for me that it was a 5-star read. Sometimes it needs a little more time to marinate because there are some 5 stars that are like immediately 5 stars and then other ones that are like take a little bit of time, but they are 5-star reads. One problem I've had recently with rating romances 5 stars is I keep comparing them to fantasy books. So every time I read a romance and it's super good, I'm like, oh, but is it like Asimov? If you want to see if I end up rating Just for the Summer 5 stars, follow my Goodreads because it might happen. For Wild Love, I ended up giving that 4.25 stars. I think I had it at 4.5, and because I rated it 4.5 stars, and that's the same that I rated Heartless by Elsie Silver, and I liked Heartless more than Wild Love. The Reappearance of Rachel Price is now rated 4 stars. I had it at 4.25. I've dropped it down to 4. The Rule Book is 3.25 stars. A Funny Story finally came up with a rating for this one, guys, and that is 4.25 stars. I obviously loved Funny Story, but the one thing for me was I wasn't connecting as much with Miles, and I loved him, but I just can't even put my finger on it. That's just the one thing I couldn't fully connect to, and if I could have, it would have been much easier to rate that 5 stars. But one thing I can say is Funny Story might be some of Emily Henry's best writing. It is so beautiful and I really like that. And then for King of Sloth, I ended up rating that 4.25 stars. And lastly, Powerful, the novella, I rated 4 stars. If that book was a whole novel, would have been an easy 5 stars for me. So yeah, that concludes this new release reading vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please comment down below if you've read any of these books, any of your thoughts. I would love to talk about it with you guys in the comments. All of my socials are linked in the description. I post book content on everything. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I love y'all so much, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!